Well, friends, good morning and welcome. It's so awesome to have a packed church this morning with all of our grandparents here. This is so great. So, like I said at the beginning of Mass, today the church celebrates the feast day of the holy Archangels, Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael. And here at Sacred Heart, we're celebrating Grandparents' Day. And I think there's a tight connection, or at least a connection between these two realities. That's what I want to kind of talk about this morning. But it's so good. Like, I've got the best view in the house right now, for sure. Like, it's so wonderful to see all of your wonderful smiling faces. You know, just curious, any of the grandparents who are here, did any grandparent go to Sacred Heart School? If you did, raise your hand. Any grandparent? Do we have any grandparents who went to Sacred Heart? One back there, and one back there. Wow, that's awesome. That's so awesome. That's so cool. Okay, anyway, I just think that's really neat. All right, so yeah, this is wonderful. Just welcome. I want to welcome also, if we got grandparents who are joining us on the live stream who can't be with us today, I want to welcome them too. It's so good to have just all of us all together here today. Grandparents are, I think, one of God's greatest gifts to us, sons and daughters of the great King. He gives us so many examples, so many people to love us in our journey, especially in those early years, and grandparents by far are one of the greatest sources of love, one of the greatest gifts. Like, I think about my childhood. Some of the greatest memories of my childhood are with my grandparents. All four of them have gone to the Lord, but they were such incredible people to me. Some of my brightest memories of childhood include them. I mean, my grandparents were the ones who picked me up after school, and I would spend time at their house waiting for my parents to get off of work. I mean, like the conversations in the car playing Uno with my grandma, she always let me win. And then, like, the after-school snacks, like, I don't care how many times my mom tried to make a PB&J, she could never make a PB&J as good as my grandma did. Like, grandmas just know how to make the best peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, amen? It's true, it's true. Yeah, I don't know what she did to it, but it was always better. It was just always better. Maybe the way she cut it, I don't know. But some of my greatest memories, in the summertime, my grandma, she had to do these water aerobics because she had some back issues and hip issues. So in the summertime, her and I would always be in the pool. She had this big blue floaty belt thing, and I'd be in the pool with my grandma doing these like jazzercise exercises with her in the pool. I thought it was pretty cool. But that stuff was so great. My grandpa taught me how to throw a baseball, playing tennis, so many vacations together. I remember my grandma, when she had her hip surgery, one year for Christmas, we took her walker, and I figured out a way to like string all these Christmas lights around her walker. It was awesome. She loved it. It was so great. And the older I get, right, the more that I reflect back, the more I think about how much of an impact they had on my life, especially in the arena of faith. A lot of you know my story, but maybe some of you don't, that growing up, my parents, we weren't very devout in our household. We weren't going to Mass a lot. I didn't go to Catholic school. I was a PSR dropout. I mean, just Catholicism wasn't a big part of our life, right? But my first memories of the faith are associated with my grandparents. So I think about my mom's mom, my grandma. She was first generation from Slovakia, and she had a huge devotion to our Blessed Mother, and she had this long pendant necklace that it was a medal of Our Lady of Lourdes. And on the flip side of it, there was like a little plastic bubble, and inside of it was water from Lourdes Shrine in France. Now, growing up, I didn't know who Mary was. I didn't know what Our Lady of Lourdes was, but there was something captivating and haunting about her necklace. That I didn't know anything about Mary or anything about Lourdes, but I knew that her necklace, there was something mysterious about it. And like that planted a seed, right? Or I think about my dad's mom. She had 5 grandsons, and she was so frustrated that not one of them was an altar boy, right? So she was so frustrated. She was like, I just need one altar boy out of my 5 grandsons. And so when I was in 5th grade, she made this arrangement with Father Steve Branofsky, who was the parochial vicar at my parish, that I was going to be the altar boy for the family. Mind you, we went to Mass like once a year, right? Okay, so I didn't know anything about Mass. So every time I would go to serve Mass, I was petrified. Just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like the book is shaking in my hands right in front of Father Costello. I was so nervous every single time. I lasted 2 years. 2 years, and then I couldn't do it anymore. Now I'm a priest, so there you go. But they had such an impact on me, They were the first, if you could say it this way, You could say it this way. They were the first ones to begin communicating the message of the gospel to me. They were the first ones who began to communicate this otherworldly, reality of Jesus and Mary and the saints. And like, we didn't have statues of Mary or the saints in our home, but there were statues of Mary and the saints in my grandparents' homes. There's images of the Sacred Heart in their homes. It's the first messengers of the gospel. That word messenger, it's where we get the word angel. The word angel comes from, it's the same word, angeloi in the Greek. Let me hear you say it, angeloi. Angeloi in the Greek means messenger. That's where we get the word angel. And the word gospel is euangelion. Let me hear you say it. Grandparents, you don't need to be learning Greek this morning, right? Okay. Angeloi, euangelion. Those words are related. That to be an evangelist is to be someone who shares the message of the gospel, right? It's to share the message of the gospel. That's the whole idea here. My grandparents were the first ones to do that. They were the first ones to communicate the power of this story. We celebrate today, like I said, the Feast of the Archangels, right? What makes them archangels? Well, they were angels of God who had a particular mission that was very powerful and important for each of them, right? Michael, his name Michael in Hebrew, Michael, his name means who is like God. Michael comes from the book of Revelation, where Michael's the prince of the heavenly host who combats Satan and throws him and the demons out of heaven, right? He's the prince of the heavenly armies. And his name carries his mission. I'm the one who says no one else but God is God, right? That's Michael. And then you've got Gabriel. His name means the strength of God. His was the mission of communicating to Mary, the princess of the universe, communicating to Mary the incarnation, that God would become flesh, that he would be born among us, right? The great strength of the ages was going to be a tiny little baby, right? God's strength is revealed in his willingness to become weak and powerless, right? So that's Gabriel. And then Raphael, his name means the healing of God, right? His was the mission. It might not seem like a big mission, but his was the mission of healing the blindness of a man named Tobit in the book of Tobit. So these angels, these archangels, they are the ones who are communicating messages from God. And our mission as disciples is like the angels, right? We are all called, not just priests, not just deacons, not just religious. We are all called by our baptism to be messengers of the gospel in our own way. Grandparents, you've probably done this in 1,000 ways, 1,000,000 ways that you don't even realize. You have been evangelizing, you've been evangelists to your grandchildren and to your own kids, right? That's your mission. But all of us carry this mission in our own particular way. Wherever we are supposed to, as much as we can, with as much strength as God gives us, to bring into the world, to the people around us, the message of the gospel, which is a message of hope. It's the message that, for reasons we cannot even begin to understand, you matter to God. That's the message. That's the message. Like the God who made Saturn and Pluto and all the stars in the heaven, the God of the Big Bang, the God of the depths of the ocean, the God of infinite space and time, that God looks at you, says, you matter to me. That's the message. And that's the message our world needs to hear. And grandparents, that's a message that you are constantly communicating to your grandkids. This kind of love, right? Because there's a difference between grandparent love and parent love, right? You all know this, right? Right? You get to leave. That's how that works, right? So you can just be as indulgent as you want to be, right? That's how it works. Here's another sucker. Here's another sucker, right? It's so much more like the heart of the Father, which is just, I want to give you good things. I want to give you good things. You have such an important mission to communicate a love that just doesn't make sense in this world. So we're called to be evangelists. We're called to be like the angels. So friends, today on this feast day, we give thanks to God for the angels, for our guardian angels, the archangels, but especially for our grandparents. Amen.